all the while, I would always think about my dad sometimes. Now why did he do that? And sometimes it'll mess my head up where I got to the point where I wanted to kill myself. Well, first of all, my father, he actually wasn't there at the time when I was growing up because my father actually hung himself. He took his life away. And the story is, when I was young, me, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sisters, we were staying in an apartment at the time. And my mother woke me up and told me, to go get some milk for my sister because she was crying. So I was like 5 or 6, I got off the bed and I went to the kitchen to get some milk, and there was my father hanging. And like, I knew something wasn't right because I knew that something wasn't right, even though I was small. I knew at the time. So like, I go back to my mother and I wake her up and I tell her, hey, can you go in the kitchen and check on Dad? Because I think he's doing something he's supposed to be doing. Because I was little, Yeah. And so my mom wakes up and she goes to the kitchen and she drops on the floor, and my dad actually hung himself, and I was the one to witness that. So I can't really explain, about my dad if he was there, because like I said, he took his life when I was young. So my mom, after that happened, my mom went crazy. She started using drugs. That's all she lived for was my father because she loved him so much, and she started using drugs.
Did you ever hear stories after that as to why? Well, what speculation was on why he hung himself?
Well, my aunts and my dad's sister, my aunt Marie, she used to tell me, he would always stress a lot. He was depressed about his brother that my uncle, his brother, he died. And my dad took that real deep, real hard, and he couldn't cope with the pain. So I guess he felt that the only way to, take away the pain was to just kill himself and do that. But, I hope that before he did that, he seen the light. It's actually like last night I was in my bunk and it's crazy because how we're talking about him today. Last night I was thinking about him, and I've never actually just thought, sat down and thought about my dad, why he do that, and I just hope that before, sometimes I tell myself, why did he do that? Why did he kill himself and left me and my mom like this? So as I got older, my mom was in and out of prison, so she didn't want CPS to take us, so she left us with my grandma, and my grandma raised us, and she fed us, kept clean clothes on us, nice shoes. She did her best. But like, as for my father being around, I can't say much about him.
Okay, so tell me how growing up without a father, how'd that shape your life?
Actually, growing up without my father, like I said, my grandma raised us. And when that happened to my father, him killing himself, my mom went crazy, in and out of prison. So my grandma took care of us because she didn't want CPS to take us. So I started growing up, as I'm getting older, going to school. My grandma taking us to school every day. Like one of the guys mentioned, we used to see people with nice shoes and clothes and stuff like that. And we were clean at the time. My grandma's kept us clean, but we didn't just have like the Jordans and stuff like that. We had like cheap shoes, Pro Wings and stuff like that. So as I got older, I live in the neighborhood where I'm from, Second Ward. We would go to this park called Ripley House. And when me and my brothers would go to this park, we'll walk to the park, we're like 13, 14. We would see these dudes hanging around smoking weed. So when we'll go that way, they would stop us. Hey, come over here. So we would stop and we started smoking weed. And they used to tell me, look, before you go home, we're going to give you some Listerine to wash your mouth out and some Clear Eyes. So every day, these dudes lived on the next block. They were older cats, I was like 14. They were like 20, 21, I looked up to these dudes because my father wasn't around. So we would go over there every day and get high, and they would give me Listerine, and I would come back, me and my cousins and my brother would come back to the house, and we'll go straight to the kitchen and eat up everything. And my uncle one day, he was like, man, y'all eating too fast. Y'all high? Y'all got the munchies and stuff like that? So as I grew up, I would hang around with these dudes. Come to find out, these dudes were in gangs and they wanted me to join gangs at a young age, had me do, stupid stuff, and like they'll use me as a crash dummy. But they never send me and my brothers and my cousins like on missions to do stuff. They just liked us to hang around. I guess they wanted us to grow older and be like them so we could get the youngsters so it can just generate, the gang stuff. But growing up in my neighborhood, I never joined a gang, and from my father not being there, I guess that's why I did my own thing. I started selling drugs, me and my cousin and my brother, because my grandma raised my cousins, which is my aunt's kids, because she was in and out of prison as well. So we used to see people with nice cars and rims and money, jewelry, and that's what we used to watch gangster movies, and we used to see stuff like that, like the Goodfellas, and we were like, man, I want to be like that, or I want these women, Cadillacs and stuff like that. So growing older, we used to buy weed, bag it up and sell it, and then profit, we would smoke, get high. And growing older, my whole thing was, I thought this life was about getting money. So, man, we would save money, and as I got older, I started selling just more than weed. It started to lead to pills, crack, coke, and I started getting into women, girls. I had a bunch of girlfriends, and I would just be cheating. I had one girl, and then by the time I used to go to school, and by the time I come home, I got like 5 or 6 numbers, and I would talk to all of them. And one day I was 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and I grew up I thought like a little player selling drugs. Thought it was cool, but my dad wasn't there to tell me that wasn't the right thing. And my grandma, she actually wasn't mad at the situation about me selling drugs. She I won't say she was like she didn't care, but she cared. She just said, whatever y'all do, hope y'all don't get caught, and come home before it gets dark. So we would hit the streets, sell drugs, do what we got to do, mess with women, and come home before. Or I used to call and let her know, well, I'll spend the night at a friend's house. I'm not going to be there tomorrow, stuff like that. As I got older, and like I said, my whole thing growing up in life was getting money or having money, having nice things, because my friends, the people I grew up with, had nice things, and I was like, man, everybody's got this, and that's what's going on. That's the style these days, is to wear Jordans and nice fitted hats and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I ain't gonna be like this no more. One way or another, I'm gonna get money, and I'm gonna show them that, hey, I can get this too, without y'all. And as I got older, my friends and started betraying me, and I started being by myself a lot. Everything I did by myself. Whether going out to eat, I treated myself. I'd sit at the restaurant and eat by myself, have margaritas, and but I always have money, and I would always thought I was some kind of mobster or something. Watching these movies, it was in my head. And as I got older, I started coming to places like this. I came my first time actually 17. I caught a theft case, and I took this dude's chain, and I ran. And I came when I was 17, got out 18. And the second time which was last year, I got out 10. But I say this as I was growing up, I met, my wife that I'm with now, and, that was the most beautiful thing that happened to me, meeting her, because she's been down with me ever since I've been getting locked up. She could have easily just left, but she's still holding on because I know she has faith in me. And now I have a beautiful son, a beautiful daughter, and I have accepted Christ into my life. I realize as me going through my bad lifestyle that if I don't change now, it's going to get worse. Because like I said, my mom was in and out of prison. My dad killed himself, and we was living at my grandma's house. My brothers and sisters would look up to me, and I started seeing them. My little sister started trying to steal my weed and try to sell my weed to get money. And my brothers and all that. And I actually grew up like in a drug kind of family because my uncles and them, they're also drugs. They always had nice cars, pinky rings, stuff like that. And I grew up seeing that. My uncles would come and I would be like, man, I want to be like my uncle. I want to have nice things. But all the while, I would always think about my dad sometimes. Man, why did he do that? And sometimes it'll mess my head up where I got to the point where I wanted to kill myself. But I said, nah, you know what? God didn't create me to do stuff like this. There's got to be something better. If that was the case, then why are we living? God killed himself, hung on the cross for me. I feel like I have to repay him back. And, you know, my wife she kind of don't believe me that I'm changing, but I told her, man, you need to quit letting the devil put stuff in your head. You know, God, can turn evil to good. And I plan on taking my tattoos off my face. You know, I have joined a faith-based program, and, you know, I'm walking with God. I try to be obedient in every way because I don't want to have my blessings cut off. You know, I pray for my wife to maybe, because my wife believes in Jesus Christ, but she's not actually like deep in the word like I am. So when I write her letters, I write scriptures to her. And when she comes to visit me up here, she's like, man, you know what? I really, I like what you sent me. And my son, like I said, this is like my second time I put my wife through this. Like when I was here last year, I stayed out like a couple months and I came back. But when I was here last year, I would always write her and tell her, you know, that I'm coming home changed. And I would get out and stay out for like, I would do good for a couple of months, go to Bible study, church, and do good, don't drink, smoke weed, or pop pills. I would do that. I would do good for like a couple of months, but then I would just slowly, surely go to my old ways. I would smoke a cigarette. My wife used to tell me, man, I thought you were not going to do nothing. You wrote all these letters talking about you're going to be changed. And I was like, man, it's going to be all right. You know, I was going to church and then still getting high at the same time, thinking it was all right. I would tell myself, you know what, at least if I go to church, you know, God will see me as I'm trying. But I used to go to church with weed in my pocket sometimes. I'm not even going to lie. I used to go to church, God forgive me, go to church and come home and get high. My wife was like, you can't be doing that. Now that I think about it, that wasn't the right thing, but I wasn't fully mature as living in the spiritual life. Now I'm getting older. I realize, you know, I have to change my life. And the tattoos on my face symbolizes the way of living, my old way of living, the thug life, getting tattoos and stuff like that. But now I have accepted Christ into my life, and I'm taking that off because I don't want my son growing up thinking he can do that. And like I tell him at visit when they come see me, you know, I don't want you to be like me. I actually want you to be better than me. And these tattoos are coming off, and he's like, you better take them tattoos off. And, you know,
Let me ask you a question. With me personally, I remember because my dad wasn't around, I didn't have that man walking alongside me to say, no, boy, you don't need to be doing that. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this. You're doing a good job. I'm proud of you. I love you. All the stuff that we need as a young man. Because I didn't have that, I bought into everything this world tells you need to be as a man. Success, money, power, the great position, the fancy car, the nice house, all that. Tell me a little bit about that. Is that the same thing you bought into? How did it work?
well, I was just like you mentioned, man. I had the same mentality, you know, power and women. I thought that was all being part of a man. But now that God has opened my eyes, you know, that was just being foolish. You know, now it's not about the women, the fancy car. It's about loving one another and, you know, taking care of my wife and my two kids because, you know, my wife, you know, she needs me out there. And it's hard right now, me being away, you know, she's got to change the Pampers and the kids running around the grocery store. And she's got one, she's got to go look for the other one in the other aisle, stuff like that. But, you know, I guess that's why I grew up like this. I think if my dad was around, I don't think I'll be here today. Actually, to tell you the truth.
How do you think your life would be different now, man?
I'll probably be, because my dad, before he passed away, my mom used to tell me he was real great at basketball, that he almost had a scholarship to go to basketball, to go to U of H, to college, and he was real good. My dad was like 6'1", you know, had a lot of women, but my mom still loved him, but, you know, he was real good at basketball, and I myself know how to play basketball real good, but I think if he was here today, I wouldn't be living the lifestyle that I live, you know. He would probably push me to stay in school and to play basketball and go to college and play, you know, to make it to the NBA, because I do know how to play real well.
What do you wish your dad would have done differently? I know it's a little different because
right. Well, I wish he would have never did what he did. And like I said, you know, I don't think about it, but when I do think about my dad killing himself, and like I said, I walked in on him and he was just hanging. And I was like, what the hell? You know, something ain't right. But, you know, I try not to think about it because when I think about it, I go to like a deep trance. I'm like, you know, I start daydreaming, so I just got to wake up sometime. But, you know, when I think about it, you know, I'm like, you know what? I have a son now. I'm not going to be like that. You know, I'm not. I can be. I still have a chance. I got 6 months left, so I still have a chance to tell my son and teach him how to be a man, but the right way. How to, you know, be a man of God. Actually, not just no regular man. Be a man of God, because it's different from just being a man and a man of God. I want him to live in the spirit. You know.
That's good. There's one thing you can say to your dad right now. If he was alive, what would you say?
I would tell him. First, I would tell him I love him, and I would. I know I would be happy, because, you know, he would probably be playing basketball, or I would probably be playing basketball. But I would just tell him thank you for being a good father. You know, even though he wasn't around, but I would tell him that.
Not that he's right.
Right.
But how do you think the fact that you grew up without a father, how did that shape and mold you as a husband?
Oh, man,
Because you didn't see that.
Right, but I didn't see that. But God has been teaching me. You know what? You don't want to be like that. You know, you want to be better. And now, I mean, my wife loves me. We love each other, and I'm actually a good father. When I was out there before I caught this case, I would work. You know, take my kids out to eat, and you know, and man, I'm a real good father. My kids love me, and I don't just throw them to the side and stuff like that. And when I look at my dad, I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna be like that. That made me stronger, because I tell myself, well, I'm not gonna do my son like that. Even though he did that to me, I'm not gonna do that to my son. You know, I'm gonna raise him the right way, and that just makes me stronger. And that just, when I look at my son, I think about, you know, what my dad did to me. I'm not gonna do it to him, and I'm gonna give him my all. And I learned another thing, that it's not about me no more. Cause I mean, I took care of my kids and my daughter and my wife, but I was selfish in certain ways, you know. And my wife was like, you know, you're selfish in some ways, you know. But now I realize, since I accepted God in my life, I plan on having my own business, taking my tattoos off, because I know with God all things possible. And, you know, this time I know I got it. This is it, because I'm tired of, you know, hurting my kids. I'm tired of seeing them come to visit and getting searched. You know, I look at them, they got to get searched. My boy's 6 years old, my daughter's 1, they got to get searched. Stuff like that just motivates me to stop coming and stop putting them in a situation, a predicament like this. So,
What's the best thing about being a father?
best thing about being a father is best thing about being a father is I have brought children in this world. I have given them life. You know, I've given them life, and now I just got to make it better for them. And they're beautiful children. I mean, all children are beautiful, actually. But
Absolutely.
I give God all the honor and glory for changing me for who I am today. People look at me, think I'm a bad person because my tattoos, and but if they get to know me, I got a good heart. Actually, you know, I got God in me, so you can't be like, I can't be like I used to be no more. Like I'm some kind of thug. I can't be like that. But people look at me like that. But I'm, like I said, I'm taking my tattoos off, planning to go to work. I want to start my own power washing business, you know. And then when I die, I can leave it to my son, so they can have something to look forward in life. So
Watch the Father Effect movie for free on YouTube.